You lose her the moment she understands you. Machiavelli knew why. There's a moment in every relationship that nobody talks about. It's not the first kiss, it's not the argument, it's the moment she stops wondering about you, the moment she figures you out. And in that instant, you lose her. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you became predictable. Machiavelli knew this. He understood that power doesn't come from being known, it comes from being unknowable. Because the second someone fully understands you, they stop chasing you. And worse, they start evaluating you. Let's be clear, attraction doesn't live in comfort. It lives in tension, in curiosity, in the psychological gap between what she feels and what she knows. And once you remove that gap, once she fully understands what makes you tick, you become familiar, and familiarity kills seduction. The unpredictable man is the powerful man. Machiavelli warned rulers of a deadly mistake. Never let them anticipate you. Predictability breeds rebellion. Now replace rulers with men and subjects with women. She doesn't lose interest because you're not good enough. She loses interest because you became too easy to read. Because when she knows exactly how you'll react, exactly how you'll explain yourself, exactly how you'll apologize, she stops listening. Why? Because mystery is more powerful than explanation. It's not about playing games, it's about preserving the unknown. Because the unknown is where desire lives. A man she hasn't figured out is a man her mind will revisit over and over. And in that repetition, she builds stories. She fills in blanks. And those blanks are always more powerful than facts. You're not boring, you're just too available. The modern man thinks being emotionally open makes him strong, that bearing your soul is impressive. But Machiavelli would smirk, because true strength doesn't come from sharing everything. It comes from choosing what to share. Understand this. She wants to peel your layers, not to be handed the whole book on page 1. You lose her the moment you stop being a puzzle, the moment she can predict your texts, the moment she knows your every opinion, your every fear, your every move. Not because she doesn't care, but because the mystery died. And when mystery dies, desire follows. This doesn't mean you become a ghost. It means you become deliberate. Everything you show, intentional. Everything you don't, powerful.
To stay irresistible without playing games. This isn't about manipulation. It's about mastery. Psychological mastery. Emotional restraint. The Machiavellian man doesn't lie. He simply doesn't offer everything. He moves with clarity, but not full exposure. He says just enough to make her curious. He holds back just enough to make her lean in. He doesn't post his every thought. He doesn't rant when misunderstood. He lets silence do the heavy lifting, because mystery forces the mind to wander, and wandering minds build obsession. The moment she feels she has to guess what you're thinking, you've won, because now she's investing emotional energy into you, and that investment builds value. The danger of being understood. There's a romantic myth in the world today. If she really knew me, she'd love me. Wrong. Machiavelli would say, familiarity breeds contempt. Because the more someone knows you, the more they categorize you. And once you're a category, you're replaceable. That's why men who are enigmatic, who don't always explain themselves, who move in silence, who can disappear without warning. They get remembered because she never fully figured them out. And her mind keeps returning to solve the puzzle, even when she's with someone else. She may never say it out loud, but a part of her is still wondering, what was he really thinking? And that unanswered question, it keeps her tied to you, even in silence. Why she stays with the one she can't predict. Have you ever seen a woman obsess over a man who treats her poorly, not because she enjoys the pain, but because his inconsistency triggers her curiosity? It's not love, it's psychology. It's the mystery of unpredictability. She stays not because of comfort, but because she can't quite figure him out. And that tension, that's power. But here's the twist. You don't have to be toxic to have this power. You simply need to be unreadable, mysterious, self-contained. You don't need to be loud. You need to be intentional. Not every question deserves an answer. Not every emotion needs to be shown. Not every motive must be revealed. What makes her stay is what she doesn't know. Mystery is masculine. A man who talks too much. He's soft. He's afraid of being misunderstood. A man who needs...
The emotional tempo is yours to control. In every interaction, there's an emotional tempo, and most men lose the moment they try to explain themselves. Why? Because now she sets the tempo. She accuses, you defend. She complains, you reassure. She withdraws, you chase. You're playing by her frame. But Machiavellian men, they don't play defense. She pulls back, he stays calm. She questions him, he answers with, "Is that how you see it?" She expects a fight, he gives silence. And suddenly, she's thrown off. She questions herself. She becomes more emotional because he never lets her dictate the pace. And when you control the emotional tempo, you control the narrative. How to become irreplaceable. Let's be honest, you don't want to be liked, you want to be needed. Liked men are everywhere, needed men are rare. And how do you become needed? You don't offer validation, you offer stability. You don't flood her with words, you give her presence. You don't seek her approval, you become the standard. Machiavelli would say, "He who is not needed can be dismissed, but he who is essential is obeyed." You want her to see you as essential, as structure, as the thing she doesn't even question, because removing you would collapse her world. The man who is essential isn't emotional, he's elemental. He becomes part of the psychological fabric of her day. You're not just a man anymore, you're a structure. When she thinks about her future, you're in it. When she makes moves, she glances at you first. When she speaks about you, she speaks carefully, respectfully, cautiously, because you've become a fixture in her reality, and fixtures aren't challenged, they're accepted, then preserved. This is the final level, not to be seen as powerful, but to be relied on so deeply that your removal feels like collapse. Machiavelli would call that the highest form of manipulation, not to dominate from above, but to operate from within. No force, no argument, just presence. The kind that shapes rooms without words, the kind that keeps people in check without commands. You're not controlling her through emotion, you're anchoring her through psychological gravity. When she tries to move on, your silence echoes louder than another man's praise. When she seeks security, your memory outshines real-time attention. That's not infatuation, that's structural impact. The final truth. You don't want to be liked, you want to be needed. People will say it's better to be feared than loved, but Machiavelli would smirk, because the wise strategist knows neither fear nor love lasts forever. But dependency, that lingers, it grows. It protects you when your name is under fire. It keeps doors open even when you've left the room. It builds you into the very system they rely on. And that's when you've won the game without ever playing it. Because once you're needed, you're no longer one of many, you become the one. And people don't betray the one who